And for anybody who's listening who wants to start an e-commerce business with physical products and private label, you must remember that you are capitalizing a physical product base of inventory, whether it's 100 units, 5,000 units, or 10,000 units. It's going to cost you to capitalize that inventory. If you believe you can do that for a few $1,000s, you're probably going to get a few $1,000s worth of value, not millions of dollars worth of value. If you're willing to put tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars, then you're going to get millions to multiple millions of dollars in revenue back from the systems. You just need to think about it and quantify it in the right mind frame. If you think I have to do this only in 10 hours a week, you're probably going to spend 20. So go ahead and expect that you really should be spending 20 hours a week doing this. And if you're serious, find the time. If you're thinking about it in limiting or scarcity beliefs like a side hustle or a hobby business, you've already lost to the marketplace of capitalism.
All right, guys, welcome to the Winner Circle podcast, where we dive into the minds of top achievers and thought leaders to uncover the secrets of success. And as you already know, I'm your host, Jay, and today we've got an absolutely fascinating topic for anyone looking to thrive in the world of e-commerce. So joining us today is Neltoir, the CEO and co-founder of Voltage Holdings. His expertise in launching, consulting, and even selling, not just only selling, even acquiring e-commerce brands, particularly on platforms like Amazon, FBA, has made him a leader in the field. He has over 15 years of experience selling private label products on Amazon, and he has also built a company that specializes in helping brands not just survive, but scale and succeed all the way to a lucrative exit. So today, Nell will be sharing his insight on, this topic for today, which is maximizing your e-commerce growth, navigating the Amazon FBA landscape from startup to a successful exit. So we're going to unpack the strategies, even also the pitfalls and key decisions every entrepreneurs need to know. We are bringing him in today, to help us with this information, because this information is very critical for entrepreneurs that really want to scale in the business, especially in the e-commerce field. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome Neltoir to the Winner Circle. So Nell, welcome to the podcast.
Small business owners can face big challenges. Our consulting firm specializes in helping small businesses reach their full potential. We work closely with business owners to develop personalized strategies that increase profits, boost productivity, and achieve growth. Let us help your business succeed. So also unlock your business's true potential with our expert coaching services. Our experienced team provides targeted solutions that help business owners overcome obstacles, develop leadership skills, and achieve growth. From startups to established companies, we offer personalized coaching that delivers results. Let us help take your business to the next level. Contact us today for a consultation.
Hi, Jay. Thanks for having me on, sir.
All right, you're welcome. So, let's look at your career in e-commerce. I must say, is nothing short of inspiring. So could you walk us through your journey?
Yeah. Well, I kind of stumbled on FBA because I was looking for a way to move physical products. I was looking for a way to create brands, and I was looking for a way to not have to have a warehouse full of people and ship products out of my house. So as I was building digital marketing for my agency, which was a management consulting agency I developed after I left IBM in 2007, I was looking for a way to expand my marketing. So I went to online and started learning how to do, more online marketing. I'd been involved in online marketing for a while in different ways. I ran a game server company for a while. I sold products online. I developed a little website during my very short stint at college before I dropped out. And it always kind of had an entrepreneurial mind and desire and tenacity, and just, wanted to push the edge and test things and do things and keep trying and seeing where my boundaries were. And so, the end result was I stumbled upon it because a friend of mine was using Amazon FBA and said, hey, you got to check this out. And then that was around in 2012. And we just started flipping a few products to play with the idea of product, selling because I'd never sold physical products before. And I didn't want it to be like an eBay experience. Like I had some friends that were doing eBay and I'm like, I don't want to do eBay. And so as I got through that process, I just learned that, there was brand, there was infrastructure. They had built this huge system to deliver the products. And I was better at the marketing and the conversation and the narrative and the brand building side, and really focused on that. Where Amazon FBA was good for us was that what I call that almost automated income, because they have this system by which people come to buy products and they deliver the products to the customer and they help with the customer support. And there's a lot of pros to the way that Amazon helps you as a new startup, a new business, getting a new venture online. There are cons. We'll talk about those too. I want to be very pragmatic in our conversation here. Amazon is a system and it's a business, and it has troubles and it has people and it has problems too, like any business does. At the end of the day, just business problem solving is one of the things I'm pretty good at. And I've been able to keep that going for 17 years now. So if I keep solving business problems and helping other people, I'll stay in business for a lot longer. I think that's one of the key factors I want to get across for people today who are, aspiring entrepreneurs, or somebody who's, current entrepreneur should know some things about that. But there's, components of it we can unpack here today as we discuss risk and business and opportunity cost.
All right. Thank you so much for that information. It's quite, comprehensive for people to understand. So now let's quickly talk about the Amazon FBA advantage itself, because for people who are not familiar with the word, even Amazon FBA, some people, they know about Amazon, but they don't know what FBA is. Can you explain what makes Amazon FBA such a game changer for e-commerce businesses, and why should entrepreneur consider even the platform over others?
Well, once upon a time, you'd have to go out and build a whole infrastructure, hire a bunch of people, get a warehouse, put facilities and software and all this stuff in place in order to ship, products to the customer. Then you'd have to have good relationships and set up all the accounts with all the providers like the post office and USP and S and UPS and FedEx and all those providers. You have to handle all the logistics of that yourself, and all the customer returns and all the customer support, etc. Bought a company to do all that basically for its sellers. It rebranded it to Fulfilled by Amazon, or FBA, which gave it the ability to not just deliver books, because originally they were just selling books and shipping them through normal channels. They started saying, hey, what if we, sell all things to all people? And so they got into the business of doing that. They're even going to be selling cars now on Amazon. That's just new right now as well. So they bought that logistics company, giving them the ability to do that. With me not having $15 billion yet to spend on infrastructure, they did that. And with that ability, it gives me, the entrepreneur and business owner, the ability to ship products, warehouse them, return them, customer support them, etc., and do a lot of that heavy lifting for me, so I don't have to focus on it. And that's what FBA allows a small business or even a corporation to do by utilizing their platform. It's pretty unique in that way. There aren't other systems online and businesses that allow you to do that. A couple of others have tried. Shopify tried to do it and couldn't do it, so they shut theirs down. Fulfilled by TikTok tried to get an FBT system in place. That didn't work, so they shut that down, and maybe they're even going to get shut down. I guess we'll find out in about 4 days if TikTok still lives in this world. But, it became a system that allowed me to focus more on the business and the marketing and making sales, and a lot less on the physical operations, which became a very, positive aspect of turning this into a lifestyle business that I can do, in 50 acres in the country with my family, who's homeschooling right now this morning in the next room. So if you hear them talking and laughing, that's what's going on over there.
That's great. I understand that part that, when it comes to doing business, especially something like an FBA right now, you wanna commit a brand like Amazon to help you hold down your business or hold down your warehousing, instead of, spending so much money, even having a small warehouse yourself and all that.
Well, and we get access to their whole customer base, right? I should mention, there's 150 million Prime members spending an average of $1,400 every year. We get access to that customer base, which is great. That's part of the benefit of the system, and it's part of, getting sales, and sales fixes everything in a business. And so getting your product visible and sellable is a great, first step in any business. Of course, generating revenue, very important. Business doesn't start until we generate revenue. I've taken quite a few people into a place where they could get sales on products for the first time online and have never done it before.
That's great, because it takes away the heavy burden of where to store your product and
Yes,
also how to get customers, because you can have a
correct.
fine product if you don't have a customer, there's no point of the product. So
And that's a lot of
I
people struggle
understand.
with that for sure.
Yeah,
Definitely in the marketing world or the paid traffic world and Facebook and all these other things you have to learn how to do to drive influence, through building up channels of influence marketing and other paid traffic, etc. It's a big effort to get a lot of people to see what you sell and then convince them that they should buy from you. Amazon shortcutted that for us. And we leveraged
yeah,
their brand to get our brands into people's houses. And that really shortcutted the ability to get those sales going.
it's great. So let's take it further a little bit. Let's talk about startups. Many people dream of launching an e-commerce brand, but they don't even know where to begin,
Mm,
because there's difference between having the idea and knowing where to begin. So what are the first steps to
yeah.
building a successful Amazon FBA business?
The first step is, what the heck do I sell? Because most people have that question, great, there's traffic, there's Amazon. I understand what it's doing now. Thank you. But what do I actually sell on that platform to make money? And the answer is pretty much anything that's profitable. What I won't sell now, having experience in this, is like supplements and healthcare related items. We don't sell t-shirts and we don't sell electronics. We will sell electric things that plug into the wall that have more basic components, but not electronics or technology. The reasons we don't do that is the cost, the startup, and the ongoing maintenance and support of that is very difficult to do. It takes a lot of capitalization to do that. And there are other areas where you could make actually more profit with less headache, less overhead, less returns, less defects in the product line. Products can be a little more simple, a little easier to figure out, making them less complex to sell. So in that case, we sell basically anything else that meets what we call a green light process of profitability. It meets metrics of profitability, our ability to rank it into certain keywords and relevant keywords on Amazon. And of course, the velocity by which we can approach that market and how many sales we can make, with a goal of getting to a minimum of 25 sales a day on the platform. And that kind of builds our base case as we start the business. If we get to 25 sales a day, there's really no reason, except for time and market and marketing and validation of marketing, that we call return on advertising spend, and we call organic sales, and we call pay traffic sales, what's called TACOS, total advertising cost of sale. That's just a metrics by which it takes time for you to advance in market share to make that 25, 50, and 50, 100, and so. So once you get to that first 25, you really understood the system, the business, and the money that's being made and how to grow it and go. So finding that product is really just a conditioning of your environment. We call it the circle of confidence, things that are around you, things in your environment, things you've already purchased, things that you may be in the process of considering purchases for. The question then becomes changing it from a consumer to a business-oriented mindset. How do I move out of the consumer mindset and into the business mindset? And the word is called conditioning. It takes 21 days to do any new activity or task and condition yourself away from your old behaviors. Okay. It could be speaking without saying and all the time. It could be walking 5,000 steps a day to get to 10,000 steps a day. It could be looking at products in your environment and considering every product around you, your life, everything you've bought, a product you could potentially sell. And that becomes a normal activity of what you're doing every day. So you start thinking about it in a different way. And that's step one. With that, you will start seeing products everywhere. In fact, we challenge our new sellers to get to 500 product ideas in 21 days. When the product ideas start to roll and the conditioning starts to roll, the next thing you actually need to do in answering part of that question is to understand the numbers of making it profitable. So you might determine a list of 359 products and discover that 200 of them will not be profitable enough to sell. That's fine. We got down to 159 ideas that have maybe most profitability, most upside potential, most trending, most viable keywords and other things as you do your next level of analysis. And for us, it has to have a minimum profitability of $12 in net profit, net which you actually keep, because that's really all that matters. Revenue is vanity and profit is sanity and cash flow is king. So we want to make sure that when we're cash flowing through 25 sales a day, we're actually getting profitability out of that. Everything else in revenue is a vanity metric, and so many people talk about that, and it's ridiculous. What matters is what we keep, what we can pay ourselves, pay people, pay the business, buy more products, and expand the business. Okay, very important. So when those numbers go in, when you're looking at products and numbers, one of the baseline numbers is profitability, and that's part of our green light process to determine profitability of a product. So we're kind of weeding down product ideas that we have that we should spend 21 days going after, and then we're going to weed them down into the most, first level analysis, most potential profitability, most upside. We typically target products that are $50 to $500 in retail price point. In Amazon or even in the online space of direct to consumer selling right now, products sub 50 will be very expensive to acquire a customer, and they're very competitive or saturated in many areas within the platforms today, including Amazon. And so we typically will sell in what we call a tier 2 or tier 3 avatar, 3 levels of avatar. Tier 1 will go up to $30 to $50. Tier 2 would be $50 to $250, and then $250 and up would be tier 3. So in that way, we're playing kind of in the middle tier of seller base where the average and majority of sales are made, believe it or not. And it's where profitable sales are actually made. Now, the one thing we don't do in that process is marry our product, because there are so many product ideas that once you get into this conditional learning, once you start to filter down by which products have the most potential profit in them, you start finding out you have kind of a different problem. You get attached to some of the products, some of the product ideas. And we want to make sure people understand that, the unique idea of an invention is super cool, feels super prideful, and look what I did. And, this could be patented and no one has anything else like this and it's all mine. And because of that, I'll be a millionaire or whatever, and all my hopes and dreams are going to come true. That's like less than 1% of all product developers get to that level. That's like the Shark Tank level idea that you win the one thing, or the Elon Musk kind of thing, or that, you hit a home run and it becomes this amazing thing. 99% of all other product sellers innovate. Our opportunity is innovation over invention. So as we look at those products and don't marry them, 2 things are going to happen. They're either going to start to look better in the numbers and the data and the analysis, or they're going to start looking worse. Don't try to make products that work, look bad. Make them better. Don't try to do that. Just go for the ones where the data works, because there's plenty of other products to follow along as you're doing your analysis. Am I answering your question to a degree? I'm kind of working through. Is this helping?
Yeah.
Okay. So the conditional aspect of understanding all the products that you can have in front of you, making sure that they're profitable, is also not falling in love with any particular product. I'll sell fuzzy bunny slippers to grandma if it makes her super happy and I can make them profitable, and she'll tell everybody in the nursing home how happy she is with her bunny slippers. And then there'll be millions of other people who want her fuzzy bunny slippers too. You understand? I'll serve a market that's profitable so I can serve the customer who's passionate about the product because I'm passionate about the business, right? Don't get caught up in the idea you have to be passionate about the products. Also, don't get caught up in the idea that you have to research and develop the product for years, which is, again, part of that invention thinking, when instead we're innovating product ideas. Now, innovation, for everybody listening out there, may or may not mean the same thing. So let me tell you what it means to me. If you have a crock pot setting on your kitchen counter somewhere, okay, grandma's crock pot, you probably have one too. The thought process here is that this is a device you've used to cook products, to make hot meals that you remember them from a childhood. We've all been a part of a crock pot. There was an innovation that occurred not too long ago that took the crock pot and made it not your grandma's crock pot. Do you know what it was? You guys have those? It was the Instapot. Okay, the Instapot added a little bit of electronics. It added a new thought process to the idea that it was for working moms who wanted a hot meal that was safe. It could be quickly done. It was easy. Here's all these recipes you can do. And it's not your grandma's crock pot that's going to burn your house down and has to set out the table all day long. And you're going to be wondering all day long, is this going to burn my house down? It'll be done in 30 minutes. It's a hot meal. You can make it really easy. You can sit down with your family and have a great experience with not a lot of effort. So Instapot really hit that working mom category that wanted a hot meal and a good meal and a clean meal for their family, and did it in a very different way than grandma's crockpot, which just has like 5 button, lashes, low, medium, high, and warm, right? This Instapot had all these little features, and it has the buttons and things that make it, very unique. It was just an innovation. It was not a holistic invention. And we saw the next innovation of that come forward as well. Okay, the next innovation of the Instapot was the air fryer, another kitchen appliance setting on your counter that cooks food, that makes it hot, that can do different kinds of foods a little faster, can cook like an oven, but much, much faster. And, it's not an Instapot, and it's not your grandma's crock pot. Right? These are just innovations. Some people would look at them and say, well, they're inventions, but no, actually, they're just innovations. And when you look at that just simple process by which they innovated a similar audience conversation with a lady who wants to provide, or a man who wants to provide food for their family and make it hot and make it good. They simply stayed in that same category. They just changed and innovated. So when you get to the process of conditioning products and what the heck you actually sell, you'll start to realize there are millions of those innovations. And you don't have to spend years in R&D, and you don't need patents to test them in the market. You can move them to market really quickly. And with Amazon being a filing system of information that's moving 8,600 units a minute, okay, 8,600 units a minute, there's a near guarantee that you're going to find somebody to buy your product inside of that system. When you provide the images and graphics and copy, and you understand that I'm targeting people who want to get a hot meal, and I know there are keywords that are related to those individuals, I'm going to put my product in front of them. And this great engine, okay, formerly known as the AI engine that Amazon developed, which is now known as Cosmo, which is an AI-driven intelligent search system, okay, using keyword-based intent searches and supported by tools like Rufus, which helps you kind of identify, like an assistant, what kind of product would be best for you. Then this system is learning about who you are and presenting only the best products that are most relevant to you as quickly as possible. The more relevant my brand is to the customer's intent, think about it like a straight line, to my product that is solving and answering 3 questions that they want to add to cart, that is relevancy, and the entire system is built on relevance. The more hyper relevant I am, so if I was going to sell an Instapot, hypothetically, I would create a brand that's just about kitchen cookware. Then I would build listings and products that are just targeting people who want Instapots, and then I would do my best to sell them every variation of Instapot I could come up with until I had 10 or 20 products that are all related to just Instapot. I would become hyper relevant. The system itself will then allow me to rank my products inside of it and gain sales through traction. And with marketing inside of Amazon, I can add even more into that. So those are kind of 4 things to consider when you're answering the question, what the heck to sell?
Right. That's powerful information that, it's so powerful for people that I'm still trying to, digest all the information you pass.
Find a
So,
product you
but
can
which,
sell.
yeah, just find a product you can sell, which is a great thing. So, but I know with every business comes with challenges because all the information talk about numbers, talk about scaling and all that. So, what are some of the common hurdles you see entrepreneurs face when starting Amazon FBA business, and how can they overcome them? Even those ones that are already in the business, what are the common challenges you've seen that
Well,
people go through? Yeah.
Amazon itself is a corporation. Amazon itself is a system. Amazon has rules and business rules they play by, and sometimes it's not always fair. Sometimes they are doing things that we don't feel are in the best interest of the businesses that are being supported there. So sometimes they make it difficult to support them and be supported by them because their customer system is constantly busy. It's loaded up with reports and requests, and a lot of it is being run by AI management systems that sometimes make mistakes. Sometimes they'll take your listing down and force you to prove that you're human, or sometimes they'll take your listing down and force to prove that you're a real business. And sometimes they want to change things that are not fair, and they make adjustments that don't really impact the seller base positively. So they can make and have made some trouble for business sellers that are on it. Let's be practical. Okay, it has a difficulty at times in solving problems to stay on the platform. And in some cases, they're not making fair use of the platform with non-US based businesses, which is giving an unfair advantage to customers and people, who are outside of the United States ecosystem for people who are in the United States ecosystem trying to build these businesses off a US based platform. So because of that, it's kind of subjugated the sellers into certain areas where I can't do things in the platform within the terms of service, or I'll be dinged, but I know there are other sellers getting away with it every day in visibility and at scale so large that you are only left to understand that Amazon is doing it intentionally. They're intentionally not taking those people off the platform for whatever reason I won't get into. So with that, it creates competition or issues that sometimes become unfair in business. And business isn't always fair. And that's one of the things new entrepreneurs really need to understand. You are in a free market capitalistic economy. That means that competition sometimes is not fair. Sometimes they don't play by business ethics. Sometimes they don't play by the rules. Okay. When it comes down to you taking their market share or messing with their business, sometimes they're going to do things very dramatic that just don't make any sense and just feel like you've been brutalized. We had a brand at once upon a time where we had a SKU that a particular competitor, we were overtaking their market share and they didn't appreciate it. And because they were such a large company, they had certain resources and aspects we did not. And so one day we wake up and within a 24-hour period, there's 1,000 negative reviews on our listing. This is before Amazon put in some better criteria to stop that kind of thing from happening, which doesn't happen anymore. While you can get negative reviews, their filtering and criteria for review system has gotten much, much stronger. But about 9 years or so ago, it wasn't there. And we had that happen to us. Someone tried to sink our battleship unfairly and unethically in the marketplace. So we've had to defend ourselves in business against some really wild things, right? So, business of Amazon has its pros and cons in the model. For aspiring entrepreneurs, you must understand that starting a business will always cost you 10 times more than you think it is. 10 times more money, time, energy, knowledge, and effort to get it going. Probably even time. Okay. So the end result is that most entrepreneurs who are aspiring to get into business always think in restriction. Okay. They think in limiting scarcity belief, not abundance of outcome. So in that way, once they get going, they put all these restrictions on what they're going to do, who they're going to do it with, how much time they're going to spend, and how much money they're going to spend to do it. And immediately out of the gate, they've already subjugated themselves, okay, to a systematic breakdown of their mind in which they're going to restrict and limit the opportunity and abundance that they're actually going after because they're launching a business. Okay, so they'll put their time constraints and money constraints on the business opportunity. Instead of saying, what is it going to take and how long is it going to take? They say, well, it can't take this long. It must only cost this much, and I must not do that. And for anybody who's listening who wants to start an e-commerce business with physical products and private label, you must remember that you are capitalizing a physical product base of inventory, whether it's 100 units, 5,000 units, or 10,000 units. It's going to cost you to capitalize that inventory. If you believe you can do that for a few $1,000s, you're probably going to get a few $1,000s worth of value, not millions of dollars worth of value. If you're willing to put tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars, then you're going to get millions to multiple millions of dollars in revenue back from the systems. You just need to think about it and quantify it in the right mind frame. If you think I have to do this only in 10 hours a week, you're probably going to spend 20. So go ahead and expect that you really should be spending 20 hours a week doing this. And if you're serious, find the time. If you're thinking about it in limiting or scarcity beliefs like a side hustle or a hobby business, you've already lost to the marketplace of capitalism. Because there are guys who will get up at 4 a.m. and stay up till 2 a.m. and they're going to beat you all day long and twice on Sunday. Because they're going to be willing to put the time, energy, effort, and attention into the things you're not willing to do. When you get to a situation where you've spent 17 years doing this, then you'll get to an opportunity of time, a little bit of luck, and the realization that that experience is compressing activities and understanding into very short segments by which I can answer and do things in a shortened time frame based on that experience and wisdom that I've gained over that time. You cannot expect to do that right out of the gate. You will not get there in the same time frame that I will get there. But you have to learn how to compete with me and others like me in the market so that you can also take advantage of it. So that means you're going to have to come to the table willing to do the things for 3 to 5 years that no one else is willing to do. So you can live like no one else can live every time after that. But if you're not willing to put that kind of energy and attention into it, then maybe you should just stay where you are, which is fine. Because entrepreneurialism is not for everybody. It is a high risk venture. It is a high reward venture, but it is a high risk venture. Okay. It's taken me a long time to get where I'm at, and I had to go through a bankruptcy to get here, to find out where I was and where my boundaries were in business, and to understand who to do business with correctly and what they should look like and who they should look like, because I've gotten better at determining who I partner with or don't partner with or do business with. And that's a navigatable skill set that doesn't come without experience and failure. Okay. I've failed more times than I can count at the activities I've done. The deals that we've tried to finish have failed more times than they have succeeded. The products that we have launched have failed more times than the ones that succeeded. I have a list of failures so long, okay, I couldn't pack it in this room, but I have a good percentage of those successes that have gotten me into a position to be independently able to do whatever I want to do, take my family on, a ride, go on vacation for a month, and do the things that I want to enjoy in life. But it did not come without significant risk. So if you're going to create a business, then you must go into the business world thinking about it in the right way, the right abundance, the right opportunity, and you must have a different level of risk than you probably are thinking about right now. If you're an existing entrepreneur, all that applies to you as well. If you're at 6 figures and not at 7 or multi 7, it is usually because you're not willing to risk the next level of time, energy, attention, or money required to move you into that position.
That's great. So just what you said, just like what you said, you talked about failing is, when you fail, you learn a lot. And there's a book I'm actually working on that's meant to be out this summer. It's called Failing Forward. So when you fail forward, you learn and you move. Instead of going back, you learn. You fail, you learn. And which is normal for entrepreneurs. So you have
It
to,
is. It's actually a part of
once
the
you fail,
process. You shouldn't resist it.
part
You
of the
should go into it.
part of the process,
It is
just go into
exactly.
it.
Yep.
And also most of the books that, a lot of people write about, they're writing from experiences. They've done the failure for you. They've failed, they've learned. So they're telling you don't do this because they've learned through
Listen, that's experience
it.
talking. Yeah, and I call it
Yeah.
failing up, right?
Yes, failing forward.
Failing forward, I call it failing up. There's a bit of a difference, right? Failing forward is the idea that I'm falling on my face. Failing up is the idea that I fail, but now I'm on my way up, right? There's nowhere else to go down, so I've got to go up. And with everything else in life, you should look up.
Yeah, so once just fail, forward, or just make sure you're not going back. So in the context is
forward.
The failing backward is when you fail, you just run back. So when you fail, in the context for forward is when you fail, you keep moving. You don't just run back.
I call it moving.
You don't want to go back.
3 feet,
Yeah, make
3
sure you
feet,
move.
3 feet. If I'm going to climb a mountain, if I'm going to go up Everest, I don't just run to the top. I'll not have enough oxygen. I will die along the way. But if I'm going to go 3 feet and I see where I'm at and I go the next 3 feet and I go the next 3 feet, pretty soon I'm going to look up and I'm going to be there. And every business is nothing at the end of the day, hear me when I say this, but a series of solving problems.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
It is all problem solving. Whether you're in real estate, business, e-commerce, it doesn't matter. Your job is to solve problems. And usually at the very beginning, the first one is to solve the problems you have, the expectations you have, and the goals and objectives you have so that you can even start failing forward from that point.
Yeah, true. When it's very important to take note of that, solve the problem and you get the reward at the end of the day. But, sometimes a lot of people see entrepreneurs, business owners flying a private jet, probably living a good life.
And they're renting,
but they really don't understand.
No, most all of that is just a huge facade meant to make a perception of reality. I call it hopium marketing.
Yeah.
In real business, the hope is that I'm still in business in 5 years. The hope is that the business is paying for itself. The hope that is within 5 years, it's profiting me and others within the business, so it continues for the next 5 years. And this is not a model you will hear a lot in everything you just said. It'll be like, get this done in 5 months, get this done in 5 minutes. No, real business is done in years. It's done in quarters. It's done in annual run rates. It's not done in minutes or months. Okay. Yeah. It is done. And that is the misconception. So many people think about business and building and, doing anything in e-commerce or whatever, is that they believe those things and they're not actually true. You need to be very practical. And I get it, because desperation and hope kicks in and you want to solve your problem and you want to solve it now. You want to solve it yesterday. So you want that reward. I get it, but it's not going to come at $1,000 course. It just isn't. Like, less than 0.01% of all people will ever succeed in making millions of dollars from those things. You are going to have to grab a mentor. You're going to have to pay the real time, energy, attention, and money costs of building a business. And I do not recommend anybody start a physical private label product business with less than $25,000 to the business itself. We will typically not start a brand for less than $200,000 in year one. Okay. Just to give you an understanding of scope. So if I'm at that and I know others are doing that, then you're competing with us in the system too, and all the other sellers. If you're not willing to do that, then you're going to compete with all the other sellers who are undercapitalized. There are 3 things in business that will fail you, and being undercapitalized is one of them. And many people are undercapitalized.
Yes, a lot of people really don't understand that sometimes, not even sometimes, businesses need a lot of time and needs a lot of capital.
Correct.
From even marketing, quite a number of business people that I know that when they invest so much in the business and when it comes to the time for them to invest in the marketing aspect of their business. They'll be like, oh, you mean I have to pay for marketing? So how do you get you have a good product? How about the customers? How are you going to reach out to the customers? They're not going to start looking for your product, except is maybe the product is curing cancer. Even if you have a product that is curing cancer, you still need to get it out there. Somebody have to know about it. If not, maybe it's only you. Or maybe if you have one client
No,
that you healed, and
it's
and that's the honest truth about it.
it is. There's a thing called the law of averages, and then that for our product base, just for people who are considering and the business, I've pivoted probably 20 times in 17 years from both offline to online businesses that all were experience failing forward and up in the process, and then getting to a place where I discovered, okay, the online product-based digital marketing world with the physical product inventory supported in a combination is where I found my sweet spot. Okay, I found that's for me. Other people will find it another. I have friends that do absolutely, they crush it in real estate, but I don't really have an interest in doing real estate or wholesaling or deal making, like that kind of stuff. That's not really where my aptitude is. So the biggest thing for somebody aspiring as an entrepreneur who hasn't really hit their stride yet, is truly to figure out, what are you good at? What is the one thing? And then do it every day. You will be so satisfied. You will be happy. People around you will be happier. You'll sleep better. You'll feel better. And by golly, you'll profit from it. Not just from the financial, but all of the other profitable things that will occur, including the relationships, the self-fulfillment, the gratification, and just the enjoyment of doing the business. You will profit money-wise. We call it profit and purpose and value equals profit. If you do not have the purpose and the value you are adding in your business, you will not profit from it.
Purpose and value. So let's quickly go for a short break from our sponsors. I'll be right back shortly. Then when we come back, we're going to talk about the scaling part of this topic. All right, we'll be right back.
Are you struggling to grow your business? Our consulting firm can help. We specialize in developing strategies to increase profits, improve efficiency, and streamline operations. From startups to established companies, we provide personalized solutions to help your business succeed. Contact us today to schedule a consultation.
All right. Thanks to our sponsor for sponsoring this show. As we move forward, so let's talk about the scaling aspect. For growth. Getting started is good, but scaling is another thing. A lot of people get started with business and they get stuck in that business forever, and they get frustrated, probably just leave the business. What strategies or maybe systems should e-commerce entrepreneurs implement early, like from the beginning,
Yeah.
to ensure sustainable growth?
Yep. So the growth aspect of any business has to do with simple repetition of what's working. So when you determine your purpose and value and profit, the goal here is to replicate the activities through what we call standard operating procedures, using metrics of tracking called objective and key results, OKRs, to assign a value of 3 metrics to each attainable task that you're after, like increase marketing by 20% this year. So there will be 3 objectives that are going to allow that to occur, right? Or I want to improve customer, retention rate by 20%. There are going to be 3 metrics that rank to that. Whatever particular priorities metrics make sense to you, you have to define those metrics. If you're just flying by the seat of your pants, you might be able to do that as an individual salesperson and make great money, and that's cool. But if you're going to actually build a business that becomes a scalable asset, you have to move people, systems, technology, and processes into place. In the physical product world, getting from 0 to 100K in sales is an individual launch a product, 2 or 3 products, and maybe one of them pops off. Okay, I'm making 100,000. That's not terribly difficult to do in a world where so much data is moving so fast. As I mentioned earlier, okay, a little bit of luck and you'll hit something in time, a little bit of process. But to get it into a systemized place where it goes to 7, 8 figures and has achievable results, there must be metrics and systems and processes in place. You can't achieve it without it. We built our own software and technology set. We have processes and people that are placed in there. We've trained operators to become independent owner operators of businesses. And then we partner with them on products, or we help them with their relationships in business, and we support them in the process of growing. And by proxy, they support us by splitting some profits in those businesses. And because of that, I don't have employees. I have, what I call like hired mercenaries, CEO and operators who come in and train with us and then become very good at the business and independently good at it. And then we do business deals with them. If we acquire a company, we hire an operator, and the operator is usually from one of the core people within our client base who is successfully operating another company. And we say, hey, we've got a business. We'd love you to come operate and be the CEO of this business. Well, here's your profit sharing. Here's your thing. Would you like to be a part of it? And then we basically raise them up out of our training. So in that way, that's part of my system and process of growth and scale. In the world of the physical product brands we own, and we have 8 of them that are under our control, it is a matter of replication of the data that's working. As I address a product that meets my profitability, meets the market, and starts selling 25, 50, 100 units a day, my goal there is to increase marketing, on Amazon and then off Amazon later on, and to increase inventory levels. And there's where the capitalization opportunity of this business takes a different risk level, And the business is going and growing, and I've put that capital in, say, $200,000 for the first year, and it starts to see the possibility of hitting a $2 million a year run rate. With that, I now realize I have to put in a container every month, which means I now have to capitalize a container of product every month. That may be a $50,000, $75,000, $100,000 a month container of product that has to go out. I have to be able to meet that criteria of the business. That is my risk, or I, the business owner, will keep the business from growing. So growth to scale usually comes with the risk capacity of the owner, not the ability for the business to actually reach it. People usually get that in reverse. They think the business can't grow and scale. And what you actually find is that businesses fail in years 4 through 5 because of the lack of experience, connection, and funding from the business owner itself. The business will grow to a certain point and they will be unable to make it reach the next level in the business stage because of their risk, knowledge, or whatever particular funding they may run into. And 80% of businesses crash in those years. They don't crash in the first 3 years. They crash in years 4 and 5. And it is usually because lack of experience, connectivity, and those around them that can give them the knowledge and wisdom to risk it up, and they can leverage the confidence of the knowledge and wisdom of the people they're working with to help get past that point.
That's great. That's great. So now, while you were talking, I just, a thought came to my mind, and I'm like, Amazon is overcrowded. I don't want to say just overcrowded. It's, has a lot of sellers, So how can you differentiate your product?
So product differentiation is branding, in essence. A white label wholesale product.
Sorry. I just want to add one, just just to add the question up to it. The thing is, it's not just all about just differentiating your product. Maybe you have the brand name for your product, but like, let me just give you an example. There's one earpiece that people, on TikTok shop right now, that if you're speaking maybe some language I don't understand, it's going to translate it to me, right? So just for example, I initiated that product, and all of a sudden everybody's selling it. And so how do you differentiate out, how do you put that into context?
So branding is a component of the emotional connectivity and the result of that particular product that I'm going to get, and my attachment to that product or connectivity to it for an emotional response. It's not just the products, not even the features and the benefits of the translation of that product. It is the emotional connectivity to the person I was trying to reach, who I couldn't speak with before, but now we can hear each other. Could be somebody, a family member, could be a friend, could be somebody I want to date, and they're in a different country with a different language. Man, that girl is attractive and I really want to date her, but I don't speak her language. I'm going to buy these ear sets because now I'm going to be able to talk to her and I'm going to make her my wife. You understand? So it is really about the connectivity. And by the way, I'm married, but the connectivity and the emotional connectivity to that is actually what's driving that product. So those who get to market first in that instance will have to continue to level up that emotional connectivity and brand by producing additional marketing and materials that continue to drive into that connectivity, and that will differentiate them above those brands. Nike did that with Michael Jordan and elevated their entire brand through people's I want to be like Mike campaign, right? Because they connected them to an individual and his success and the product, and they tied that whole emotional, if I wear these shoes, I could possibly be like Michael Jordan. Fast forward today, and its product basis, there's a commodity aspect of product, and then there's the emotional need and connectivity of that product to solving a problem, an emotional or connectivity and benefit, or a safety feature that I want because I need this product at this price point because I am confident that this is going to be more safe. And in my world, for a little while, that was making sure that we got the Britax car seats because they were the highest rated, best, strongest car seats. So we had $4. So we ended up with 4 Britax car seats. Were there cheaper versions at $69 from Walmart? Sure. But these were the $200 and $400 car seats because they were the ones that my wife knew that when they strapped into the car, that they were the best, highest safety rated, products. And we were connected to our children, as you would probably imagine. So we wanted to make sure that they had the safest car seat. So when branding and emotional connectivity go, if you move yourself out of a commoditized product that looks, feels similar and the same to everybody else, and the differentiator will be whether or not the product, of course, works, but my connectivity to that product ends up being the relationship or the outcome. Again, the purpose and the value of that product's connectivity to my problem, solving my problem, and my willingness to go get more of it. Okay. And then you can see that in some dramatic ways. You can go play the game online if you've ever seen this between the Android and the iPhone fanboy argument of whether or not which tech is better. And half of the logical brain people will be like, well, Google has that technology already. They had it 5 years ago, blah, blah, blah. And then you listen to the iPhone people are like, it's sleek. The packaging is great. The interface is easy to use. The thing just works and it does everything I need it to do. And so it just has to do with the differentiation of value and purpose. Features and benefits are only one component of that. If you're just focused on features, technology, and the components of the technology itself, you're not tying into the emotional connectivity of benefits. And that's where a brand goes, right? In that way, we will tie emotional connectivity to the images, the product, the storyline, the narrative, etc. Even if we're selling something competitive in the market, we're going to outmaneuver, outnavigate, and outmarket the perception of our product's reality that it is better than the competition. We just need people to make sure they understand how that connects to their personal life. Once they do that, they'll tell all their friends and family about it, and they'll say, go get it on Amazon.
That's powerful. Well, every product itself has like a reason why people love it. Just like you said.
Why I always say New Balance versus Nike, or somebody wants a Honda versus a Toyota. They will tell you because the Honda was 200,000 miles. They'll say, I went to Subaru because we got in a crash and my kids were safe and the Subaru did its job.
And that's the truth. And there's this particular product on this cup, I think one of the marketing for it was the fact that a car got burnt down and the cup was safe. I don't know if you know the cup. It was, I don't know. It's like it's a cup that you use to put like coffee I say coffee, like maybe water or something that you take to office or something. The cup I'm talking about, I've forgotten the name. Stanley cups. Yeah. Like some people, like there's a line for you to get it, and there are a lot of cups like that too. But people are not buying that.
Yeah, but they did something in the brand and narrative. Do you remember what they did? It turns out that it wasn't an accident. Do you remember what they said? The guy that came on later when he talked about this, and they gave the lady a new car and all this stuff. It turns out that was a really very, very, very slick marketing campaign. When the car burned down, the car burned down around the Stanley Cup, and the video went viral with her pulling the cup out of the burnt car, opening it up, and there was still ice in it.
Yeah. I never knew, but
go check it out.
Maybe I'm going to check it out. But
go check it out.
The last thought of it for me was the fact that a car got burned down and there was still ice in the cup.
And they hit a demographic of ladies in the 40 age group where they targeted basically a rebranding. The gentleman that was hired in came in to rebrand Stanley away from the working man cup and take them into the everyday life, which he targeted women in their 40s. And so all the cup designs changed and the cups came out different than, say, Stanley Thermos, which is what my dad had for 30 years when he went to work every day. The old, heavy Stanley Thermos. He still has the dang thing. It's indestructible. I think it'll just be here with the cockroaches after a nuclear attack. And he basically targeted those ladies and dialed into their perception of value and started charging them $49 for something they get for $29, and they bought it up like crazy.
Yeah. That's the honest truth.
That's what product and branding actually does with a good story and a good narrative. That is the differentiator in that. So what would you do for the earpieces? I'd create an entire Hallmark style emotional marketing campaign around families connecting with each other, or friends connecting for the first time, or love interests connecting, where they could actually hear each other and talk in real time. And I'd make it like a little Hallmark mini 30-second episode and make people cry, because if they're crying, they're buying. And so when you get to that technology, it isn't about the features and the functions, it's the connectivity to those people. And that's actually something AT&T did a long time ago, right? They had a whole series of commercials. It was all about connecting your family, and they did the commercials during the Christmas time, and everybody was so excited. And everybody's like, I want to talk to my family. So people started dialing on AT&T more. That's where you would touch the emotional heartstrings of these people, and you would get ladies to buy them so they could talk to each other, talk to their family, talk to their boyfriends, and you would just make that thing sing, and it wouldn't have anything to do with all of the features and functions and benefits, other than that is what enables the emotional connectivity of that product to be bought. And then I'd raise the crap out of the price and sell 10,000 more of them.
That's powerful. So now let's move forward, and as we read. Oh wow, we have a long time fast spent, almost 4 hours right now, almost an hour right now. So let's look at the let's yeah, but it's been interesting. I would go 2 hours on this, and I would and it will never get bored. So for our listeners who are maybe probably working with us for 1 hour, so let's take a look at the exit part of it. All right. So one of the most exciting part of building an e-commerce itself is the potential of a successful exit. So how do you know when it's time to, or the right time to sell, so you don't get stuck with a product?
Well, again, that comes down to kind of what's your number. If you are happy with the idea that you could clear out $100,000 in profit from something you created, or $1 million or $10 million, at some point you're going to have a number in mind that says that fulfills everything beyond my wildest expectations. That's something I'm super happy about. That's something that I did that is going to be purposeful for my family. It's going to change, I can change the lives of others. It's going to be worth the outcome from all the sweat, energy, tears, and risk I made getting this business to market and taking this baby out there and selling it to someone else who hopefully doesn't crash and burn it because I gave them this baby joy I created and sweat and blood, tears, and everything over it, and want to see it go to market. If you do that, you just have to know and expect what to deal with in the market, from brokering to the multiples of the profitability that you would get from what it would actually sell for and what you would actually get out of it. And of course, making sure you are managing that process correctly so you don't pay an exorbitant amount of taxes on the time, because you may end up with, $50,000 left after taxes, and that's not something you want to see. So there's going to be a point in time where you naturally recognize the business has grown to a place where, if it's just an Amazon only sales channel, that's not technically a business in my mind. That's the starting block single channel of a business that will need to move to omni channels. It will need to go into a direct to consumer relationship on your website or Shopify. You may want to open TikTok. You want to get into retail. You want to open local doors. You want to expand that business into different marketplaces like Walmart or Etsy or somewhere else. You need to open additional sales channels and acquire customers. That's a very important part. With that, the valuation of the company increases. And of course, if the valuation of that happens, you now have a saleable asset, and that asset is going to be worth potentially a lot of money. Everything in the business building world should be considered building an asset. Think about it like building a house and having that house something you lived in. And at some point, you want to sell that house and you would prefer to sell it at a profit. So we're building a business much like a house. We just want to make sure that by the time we get to the second story of our business, it's not leaning 30 degrees to the left, so the roof doesn't go on right, which means building the business from the beginning with the end in mind. That means building the framework of the business, the LLC structures, the taxation, the bookkeeping and accounting should all be built at the beginning. The intellectual property that goes into the business should be built from the beginning, including trademarks. If it's on Amazon, brand registration. If you're going into the greater world, you should look at provisional notice of allowance on patents to make sure that you have IP or intellectual property protection, as well as just the value that intellectual property has in the business. And then you want to, of course, look at acquiring those customers and that data. Amazon as a sales channel will not allow you to capture their customer data. Within their terms of service, you can't break that or you'll lose your account and that'll shut the sales channel down. There are ways to capture it through brand marketing, through emotional connectivity, people looking up on your website, through the packaging and other ways where you could capture 30 to 40% of that data within Amazon's terms of service, but you will never get all of that data. So you will need to eventually open a channel where you're collecting all the customer data, phones, email, addresses, etc. That becomes a very important asset in the sale of the business. It increases the profit by which you will sell the business and how much money you will actually make in the business. Single Amazon channels will go from between 2.5 to 3.2x, depending upon their profitability. Additional multiple channels, 2 or 3 deep, that make up at least 30% of the additional sales. Say Amazon's making 70% and these other channels are making about 30%. You could see 5 to 7x on the business sale, which would be the profit, or what we prefer is the seller discretionary earning, which is basically what you make and everything you take home out of that business. And then you multiply that by those numbers to get the potential exit you would see yourself if you sold that business. So all that said, you're going to find a time where you start to understand that language and terminology, and you understand the business, and you come to a place in the road where you're like, well, maybe I'd like to spend more time doing this. Maybe I'd like to invest in something else. Maybe I'd like to go build another brand and do it again. So I'm going to go ahead and put this out to the market and see what it's worth, and go put it in the sale and see if I can get something out of it that I expect, or something that I don't expect, something bigger than that. And that will come as part of that process. But you should build it from the very beginning with the end in mind, because these businesses are worth more in the end than at any time during the business building phase.
All right, thank you so much. So as we have as we round up, we have like 2 more questions and we can call it a day. So the second to last question I would love to ask, for our listeners um from YouTube, I have a question like, what are some of the biggest mistakes you've seen sellers make on Amazon FBA, and how can others avoid them? Hello? I think I lost
Okay, there we go.
Okay.
So I hit the mute button on accident.
Okay.
The very specific aspect of that would be to make sure that you don't start the business as an individual, start it as an actual business. Register it as an actual LLC, formulate the company, and put the company in the market. Most people who personally start businesses don't realize how they're exposed legally. Okay, they're exposed legally on many fronts, putting it in their name, using their personal address and other things to do it. They need to set the business up and actually structure it as a business to go out in front of them. LLCs are personal protection. That's called limited liability companies. All right, they're there for a reason. They can take insurance on, and general insurance practices should have at least $1 million in insurance a year on them for anything that happens in the market, or anything that you might become a victim, or anything you might need to defend yourself from if you go out and sell in a public place. That is something very important most people don't understand, and they put themselves at significant risk when they don't do it that way. So from the very beginning, you want to set your business up in such a way where you are protected. If you don't understand all that, that is definitely something you want to learn and be some of the first things you experience as you go forward. If you don't, you can find yourself in legal trouble. You can find yourself in taxation trouble. You can find yourself at risk for things you may not even know yet or understand, especially if you're new to business.
Thank you so much. As we round off, what are the tools, platforms, resources you recommend to entrepreneurs to improve their efficiencies and maximize results in Amazon FBA businesses? And not only that, also, what are the final advice you will give to any entrepreneur?
First up, don't sell products less than $50. We have a saying in our business: friends don't let friends sell $20 products on Amazon. When the numbers work after the $50, it's because you have enough to cover Amazon's fees, referral fees, marketing, landed costs of getting the product in the market, and the other factors of return, shrinkage, warehousing, etc., that are stacked on to that cost. You must know your numbers. More people do not experience this correctly and run into this problem. They don't learn it from the beginning. They don't understand the fundamentals of the business. Even on Amazon or any business, you must get that structure in place first. Know your fees, know your costs, know who you're targeting. Second, you must launch enough products to give yourself time to discover which ones will sell the most for you. People will typically overload too many units on a single product, hoping that it's going to meet all their dreams come true. And it's actually not going to work that way. The law of averages in our 5x5 encourages you to go out and launch a minimum of 5 products at 100 units test per product, minimum. Find out which product is actually selling, and then deploy more capital, time, energy, attention, and money to the product that's actually working, so you will give it growth to profit opportunity, okay? So you need to go and you need to test and fail forward in the products until you find the ones that start working really well. Most sellers do not do. They will limit themselves to 1 or 2 products and say the whole thing didn't work. And really, at the end of the day, they had not enough experience in the market to learn what the market wanted from them. Okay. We're not smart enough to tell the market what it wants. We're smart enough to grab the capture the demand that is already working there. And that's your opportunity. There's already demand for those products. Our question is, how do we get the best product in front of them in just the right time so they sell, fix the sales and get people to buy our product, which really overcomes the rest of those issues at the end of the day.
All right. Thank you so much for all the wisdom-filled information you shared today. Just like you said, don't sell a product less than $50. So, which
Not
is
on
very
Amazon.
important. Not on Amazon.
You will get
FBAs.
all revenue and vanity. Good for you, but you'll miss the profit.
You miss the profit. So you want to make sure you're working and you're making money.
You will get, it will take quite a while to get to volume enough to see the kind of profits you might make. And you're going to have to move a lot of volume for that to occur. If I sell 1,000 units this month at $1 in profit, and next month I sell 2,000 units, yay, I'm a much bigger business. No, but if I didn't increase my dollar profit, I increased all my costs. I actually made less money. If I sell 1,000 units this month at $1 in profit, but next month I'm sell another 1,000 units at $3 in profit, I actually got ahead.
Wow. That's great. All right. Thank you so much
You're very
for
welcome.
joining us for this conversation today. And hopefully we'll love to bring you back on the show to discuss more, especially, more in depth on Amazon FBA landscape itself, because I really want to, this topic itself, I don't think is actually built for 1 hour. Although our show is 1 hour, but this topic is not built for 1 hour. That's the honest truth, because it requires a lot, because there's a lot of information that I'm learning. It's something that is quite I want my listeners to be part of this show, so I want them to learn more from what you have to give, from your wealth of knowledge, because you have a lot of knowledge, especially in this industry, and I want a lot of people to learn from you. So we'd love to have you back on this show to talk
wonderful.
more about the Amazon FBA market itself, and also entrepreneurship in general.
Wonderful.
So people can get more information from you. So thank you so much for today. Last but not the least, how do listeners reach out to you?
Well, in simple terms, you can go to voltagedm.com, voltagedigitalmarketing.com. Check out our presentation with myself and Kevin Harrington, where we go over our greenlight process, our as seen on TV strategy for Amazon and multi-channel. There's a free virtual trainings that happen, and there's my book on there if you guys want to check out the book and grab a copy of it. Plenty of information on my High Voltage Business Builders podcast, which is a top 3% global rated podcast. And then, of course, you can Google me on Voltage or Neil Twa. TWA is my last name, and you will find me on all the social media channels.
All right. No problem. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me,
next
Jay.
time, guys. So make sure you're winning, and make sure you never keep striving for greatness. And remember, success is a journey, not a destination. See you in the winner circle. Have a nice day, guys. All right. Thank you so much.
This is